Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode on the channel. I hope your new year is off to an amazing start. Have you ever noticed how many major historical events happened in January? Revolutions, declarations of independence, groundbreaking scientific discoveries, and turning points that changed the course of history, all packed into this one month. It might sound like a coincidence, but it really isn't. There are some interesting reasons behind it. First, January is named after Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and doorways, a god with two faces, one looking back at the past and the other facing the future. Second, from a psychological perspective, the start of a new year has always been a natural time for big decisions, bold moves, and fresh starts. Today, we're going on a journey into the past to see which remarkable events took place in January. From bloody revolutions to scientific breakthroughs that transformed our understanding of the world. So, let's get started. January the 1st, 1804. Let's go to the town of Gonaïves in Haiti. On that day, Jean-Jacques Dessalines formally declared the country's independence. This was a historic moment because Haiti became the first country in the world to gain independence through a successful slave revolt and at the same time abolish slavery. The revolution had begun back in 1791 and took 13 long, brutal years. This revolution was important because Haiti proved that enslaved people could defeat their oppressors. It inspired anti-slavery and independence movements across North and South America. Latin American leaders like Simon Bolivar received support from Haiti, and at the same time it terrified slave-owning elites in the United States and Cuba. Unfortunately, the world punished Haiti for this act of freedom. The United States refused to recognize its independence until 1862, and France forced Haiti to pay an enormous indemnity. A debt so heavy that the country was still paying it off well into the 20th century. Fast forward exactly 155 years, again to January the 1st, this time 1959, and again in the Caribbean. Now we're in Cuba. Fidel Castro and his revolutionary forces succeeded in overthrowing the dictator Fulgencio Batista. On New Year's Eve, Batista fled the country and escaped to Dominican Republic. This revolution, much like Haiti's earlier struggle, posed a major challenge to the great powers of the time. Castro wanted to free Cuba from US economic domination and create an independent socialist society. The big difference from Haiti was that Cuba, at least in geopolitical terms, was luckier. The Soviet Union and other socialist countries backed the new regime. Now let's go to the United States, right between those two revolutions. On January the 1st, 1863, in the middle of the American Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This proclamation declared that all enslaved people in the Confederate States that were in rebellion against the Union shall be then, thenceforward, and forever free. In practice, its immediate effect was limited. It only applied to areas under Confederate control, not to slave states that remained in the Union or regions already occupied by Union troops. But symbolically, it changed everything. The Civil War shifted from being just a political struggle to a moral war for freedom. And there is an interesting link back to Haiti. The Haitian Revolution had already shown that enslaved people were willing and able to fight for their own liberation, and that reality was very much on the minds of American leaders. Now let's turn to the world of science, to January discoveries that changed how we see our planet and the universe. In January 1923, British archaeologist Howard Carter finally entered the burial chamber of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. The tomb had remained virtually untouched for more than 3,000 years. This discovery was significant because it was the first nearly intact royal tomb from ancient Egypt ever found. It contained the now iconic golden mask of Tutankhamun and thousands of artifacts, and it sparked global fascination with Egyptology and fundamentally changed the study of ancient Egypt. In January 1925, American astronomer Edwin Hubble presented evidence that objects like the Andromeda Nebula were actually separate galaxies far beyond the Milky Way. Until then, many scientists believed that Milky Way was the entire universe. Then, in January 1929, Hubble went even further. He showed that distant galaxies are moving away from us, and that the farther they are, the faster they recede. That meant the universe is expanding, a discovery that laid the foundation for what later became the Big Bang Theory. In January 1926, Scottish engineer John Luigi Baird gave the first public demonstration of a working television system in London. This moment marked the beginning of a revolution in communication and entertainment, eventually leading to the media-saturated world we live in today. Here are a few more important January milestones. January the 1st, 1808. The United States banned the transatlantic slave trade, although slavery itself continued domestically until 1865. January the 1st, 1502. Portuguese explorers reached Guanabara Bay in Brazil and, mistaking it for the mouth of a river, named the area Rio de Janeiro, meaning January River. January the 30th, 1948. Mahatma Gandhi, leader of India's independence movement and a symbol of non-violent resistance, was assassinated by Hindu extremists in New Delhi. January the 9th, 2007. Steve Jobs unveiled the first iPhone, a device that would fundamentally change digital technology and put the internet in people's pockets. So today we saw how January has truly been a month of historic beginnings. What all these events have in common is that each one marked a fresh start, the beginning of freedom, the dawn of a new knowledge, or the opening of a new path. Maybe that is exactly why Janus, the Roman god with two faces, gives his name to this month. One face looking back to learn from the past, and the other looking forward to what can be built next. And perhaps there is a lesson here for each of us. The start of a new year is not just the date on the calendar. It is an opportunity, a chance to change direction, to begin again, and to create something new in our own lives. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like and share your thoughts in the comments.